This is the Rolling with Tay podcast. I'm your host, Tasia, aka Tay. And on this episode, I have my friend Silas Brown. We've known each other since I think 2011, 2012. We worked in TV production together, and that's how we met. And I'm just honored that he, wanted to be on my podcast. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you again for being a guest.
You're welcome. Wow, 2011.
Right.
Long time.
Right.
You had a lot more hair back then.
Oh, man. How are you doing? How's the family doing?
We're doing good. We just celebrated graduation for our oldest, so
Great.
he's off to college soon.
Great.
Everybody's good. Everybody's growing. I got my middle dude and my little lady are all like ready to go camping now. They're like, let's go camping now. So everybody's good. My wife is like, I am not backpacking. I will hike, but I'm not backpacking. No thank you.
Okay. So let's jump right into it. Camping. First, when did you start camping? Was it something you did as a young kid, or is something that you picked up as an adult?
So as a child, I had a neighbor. My mother and father are from the South, but they did not camp. And if they did not share it with me or my brother. So my brother and I would go camping with our neighbor. Her name is Maida. And I haven't spoken to this woman in years, but she would take us with her two boys. And it was like the highlight. So she took a lot of the neighborhood kids camping. And we're talking, young Black boys growing up in Brooklyn. My only opportunity to go outdoors was when we drove down south to visit our family. So other than like going on to my grandmother's farm and hanging out with her farm animals, that was the only outdoor time other than going camping with this young lady. And she was the nicest person I'd ever met. Like, she was a true hippie. And she took us out into the woods. I think when I was young, I went camping about 6 times with her. And I think we stopped right before I got into high school. So I think like 14, around then, like 13 could have been my last camping trip with Maida and her sons. And after that, I did not camp again until I was about 19.
Oh.
And that was a crazy time because I had no navigational skills. I was just like, I had a little experience from what I was taught by Maida, and that was limited at best. And I went camping and with a few friends, and we ended up going to this mountain. We hiked up, we summited it. It wasn't that far because someone drove us, and we hiked maybe an hour, maybe 90 minutes. Let's just say 90 minutes because no one had experience but me. And we got to the top of this thing. And I said, you know what? It seems something felt off. I said, let me just walk around for a minute. And me and my friend Devonna walked around. And I shined my flashlight on a sign that says dynamiting at 1 a.m. And this was 12:30. I said, we have to go now. We didn't even unpack. We just set our backpacks down. Everybody got their bags back on. We walked back down to the mountain. The van that drove us, their battery died. So by chance, we had found them. They had just walked back with the battery. So it was like perfect timing for everything. And we got back. He dropped us off to a bus stop. The bus took us to the next point. We camped. And then after that, a huge break. I think, what is this, 24? I think I started camping again in 2018. And that was a long break. So now I went back with a few friends and we just went to Harriman. We didn't go pretty far. About 90 minutes outside. I couldn't tell you the exact. I think it was West Mountain is where we started. And we hiked up and we had a really good time. I was so inexperienced, forgot everything. I was wearing cotton. My backpack had to be about 70 pounds.
Oh, no.
I didn't have like the proper water system. I ended up carrying a that 5 gallon Poland Spring big thing that had the handle in the middle up this mountain for about 3.5 hours. And we got to the top. We were so tired. I was exhausted. We ended up sleeping in this lean-to for the first night. And man, I said, this is great. I want more of this. And, just like over the years, I just like did my research, started figuring out what to wear, what not to wear. Never wear cotton.
Okay.
Cotton's a bad thing to wear if you're backpacking or camping or even hiking. You don't want to wear something that'll just like hold on to the water. So that's my story, like how my journey began getting back into the outdoors. And it's mainly backpacking. I'm not a thru hiker, and I have nothing against people that are thru hikers. It's just not my bag right now. Just because I have kids, I have small kids, and I don't want to. I only go like Friday to Sunday, come home about 1, 2. So, my time in the woods isn't as long as I would like it to be right now, but I go twice a year and I have a good time. I'm always looking to add on to my small crew of backpackers.
Okay.
So the invitation's out there to you, Tasia.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the invite. Now you mentioned thru hiker, right?
Yes.
What exactly is that?
So my understanding, a thru hiker is someone who is, walking from one point to the next. So they're traveling through a destination. A lot of people walk the Appalachian Trail, which is very popular. So a lot of people travel from wherever they may start, and I think, not to sound ignorant, but I think it passes through Harriman, and I think it even goes down to maybe, I want to say maybe Connecticut. I mean, it's really long. It's a long like thing. I'm talking miles and miles of like, you take your gear. So you want to go light as you can. And a lot of people try to do ultra lighting when they're through hiking. So you'll travel with a light pack, your bare essentials. Like if you have a stove that's about this big, it now has become that big, like a little pocket thing with a very, like just a little cup to put on top to cook with, boil your water and get your freeze-dried food or whatever types of food you're eating along this route. You want to keep it light because you're walking miles. So you'll pitch camp, pack up the next day, walk. Your main goal is just walking. You're just walking through.
Okay.
And you can set up destination drop points for yourself where you can have food mail to a point and then you just like re-up there. Or you go in town, maybe stay at night in town, maybe sleep on in a hotel, shower, maybe a day or two and just refresh your gear and get settled and then back on the trail. Or you can just like through hike state to state if you want it. But there's also, you bike. There's also a lot of people that bike and camp.
Yeah.
So that's another popular thing. If you have a motorcycle and camp. There's a lot of ways to kind of get out into the wilderness, so you can take your bike, ride it to base of the mountain, lock it up, and then just want to make sure you know where your starting point is so you can get back to it. You don't want to walk down the wrong side of the mountain and have to figure out where you left your bike.
Right.
So navigation is important. But yeah, it's like many ways. And through hiking may be your thing. You might want to like travel light and walk a distance. I am not a fan of that at this point in my life. You never know. I can't say what could happen in the next few days. I do watch a lot of these adventure racers and racing shows, so I like to do one of those one day, or in my mind pretend that I've done one.
I know people who have and that do like bike packing and bike touring. Even skaters who skate to different destinations and camp. I would like to do that one day, but I don't know how to pitch a tent. I don't feel confident in my skills. So I would have to go with more experienced hikers and camper, like packers, you know. So I would have to, and there are groups, and I know there are people like you who I can go with, but that was like, yeah, my thing. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna do it, and I just didn't build up the confidence, and I haven't done the research, and just the groups that do offer these trips. Either the timing wasn't working out, or I didn't sign up in time.
Okay.
So it's like, I guess not. But then I was like, okay, I got the riding part down, right? Maybe I'll just stay in hotels, right? Now, listen,
Yeah.
but a couple of the trails that I wanted to go on, the hotels are kind of far. And I'm like, man, this is when my camping skills would have come in handy. If I knew how to camp, and I felt comfortable and confident in pitching a tent and sleeping outside.
It's easier than you think. I mean, I'm going to tell you, if you're not used to sleeping outside, especially traveling alone, it could be scary. There are a lot of weird people out here. I'm just going to be honest about it. It is what it is. It's like no matter where you go, you're traveling alone. You just have to be aware. Like, one, you want to know what the surrounding wildlife is like. Then you want to have an understanding of who may be walking through. What's the popularity of this trail or popularity of the campsite you're going to. It seems like every time I go, there is a large community of older people with their walking poles out there hiking, and I'm so excited to see them, and I'm so proud of them that they are, because some of the places I've been, it's been pretty steep, and there have been some challenging spots that you have to really shimmy up a rock, or if you have a bag that's like 30-40 pounds, you're trying to get up, you might have to take it slow and steady. And I see these guys strolling up here having lunch, and I'm not talking like 1 to 2 people, I'm talking like 20, sometimes 15 to 20 people in a party. They're just sitting down having this big lunch, and I'm like, who brought that big pot? Who's carrying that thing? I know I had a hard time walking up this mountain, but who's walking up the mountain with that giant pot? And it's things like that. So if they can do it, you absolutely can do it, and it's easier than you think it is. And any questions, like, seriously, like tents, sleeping bags, sleeping mats, what equipment you want, like what backpack might be right for you, like what are you looking to do, and anytime you want, you just let me know. I have tons of gear. If you don't want to invest, you want to borrow something, I can lend you something. Everybody's got their personal opinions on their own gear and what they like and what they don't like, and I can guide you to what has been beneficial to me and helpful for me, and things that I enjoy carrying, and something that I'm willing to take because it might be a little heavier for someone else, but I like a little luxury in the woods. I'm over 50, so I really prefer not to sleep on a hard floor. I have, but if I don't have to, I'm not.
I like that. So, okay, I like that too. So what is your setup, or does it change depending on where you're going?
It changes depending on where I'm going. It also changes because I love gear, and I have a lot of gear. So every year I'm trying to use a different piece of gear that I haven't gotten to use. I only go twice a year right now. So I have a few hammocks, I have a few tents, and I was just gifted a really cool hammock tent for Father's Day for my lovely wife and kids. And it is the Opiongo Aerial A1. And if you look it up, it's a really cool setup. It is a one person though. Normally I purchase a 2-person tent because I like to keep my gear in the tent with me, and I like to have the room kind of spread out. But it depends. Like, I like it when it's colder, so spring and fall are the times that I go. So I make sure like I have insulation, so it depends on the weather. Another thing you want to make sure the gear you have is also waterproof, because I will be honest, almost every time I've gone camping, it has rained and or snowed, or a combination of both. So your gear should be prepared to withstand whatever element you're going into. But I always say always be prepared for rain. It's like rain follows a backpacking situation. So you want rain gear, good waterproof items, a good I use a footprint for all of my tents, and you may not know what that is now, but it's just a ground cover.
Okay.
You put your tent on top of that. I think a good dream is I would like to design my own tent, because I think like a good tent setup is where I can connect my footprint to either the tent or the rain fly. And I like a full fly that covers the tent completely, that creates a drip at the bottom where the water will just run outward, opposed to down onto the footprint or the floor.
Okay. I'm envisioning it. I think I understand it.
I think a good tent, if you wanted to start out, you want a good freestanding tent. And when I say freestanding, a freestanding tent is something you can you put it together, you can lift it up and walk it to wherever you want to kind of set up.
Okay.
And I think that's a great type of tent for beginners and experienced people too. I have a few freestanding tents. I think almost every tent that I own is a freestanding tent.
Okay. Okay.
Except for my hammocks. Those, you need a tree.
Okay. Yes. And I know people, I've gone camping one time, and maybe consider like glamping. It was for an event. And the first time I slept in a tent, it was really awesome. It was in Texas. The event was called Urban Camp Weekend. It happened to be a heat wave during the time, so super hot. And I go into the tent first time, right? I think they set it up for me. And I go in, I have a little chair in there, my air mattress. As I'm putting my linen on my air mattress, I close my tent. And I'm like, man, it's great. I just start dripping sweat. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, what's going on? So my cousin happened to come on the trip as well. And their tent was right next to me. And they were like, oh, I had to come out the tent, dripping with sweat. She was like, oh, unzip like the little window so you get some ventilation. And I'm like, what? I'm so glad that you told me that. I would have died.
That would be good.
In that state.
Ventilation is important, especially in the warmer times.
Oh my gosh. I thought I was going to be nervous.
Was it one door? It's called a vestibule. Did it have one area to get in and out?
Yes. Yes.
The good thing about a two-person tent, it gives you two doors. And that's another reason why I get it, because it gives me two venting options. So you can open up your vestibule or your fly that covers it on both sides, and you sort of have a draft that can go right through, and you have a mesh zipper.
Yep.
So you'll allow the air to kind of come through. You probably slept in a one-person tent, and a lot of times there's like no rear opening, for your vent, and if it is, it's really small. So
yeah, I think it was just the two like windows which had the mesh, but only one
door.
Man, I was like,
did you wake up, like, was the tent wet when you woke up from condensation?
No, it wasn't. It was because I slept. I opened that window. I let that air through, but I didn't know. So,
Like, Texas is hot.
Right. And it was a heat wave, so it was extra hot.
Man,
I was like,
I would never go camping in the summertime if I don't have to.
Oh, it was for an event.
First time, so
Yeah,
it was like,
it was my first time for an event.
But so, how long ago was this?
This was 2 years ago.
And that bug hasn't really taken effect?
It has. Like, my friends and I were just doing a hike, and we stopped by this lake, and we saw all these campers, right? Some had like RVs, motorhomes, but they had tents set up, and it just looked so cool. I was like, oh man, this is pretty dope. Again, it's the confidence and actually taking a step forward to do the thing. You know, it's that part. So I mean, yeah, I want to do it, but it hasn't like bit me yet. It's like right in front of me, like, hey, we're here. Come
You
camping.
do a lot of outdoor stuff in the Bronx, right? Like you're always out and about in the Bronx.
I'm out everywhere.
Everywhere. What about kayaking? Would you ever do like a boat trip with a like camp? Like, you know, you take a boat and like ride down river somewhere, or kayak somewhere with your backpack and land it.
So I kayaked for the first time in, I think, April.
Where?
Here in Bronx River.
Okay.
So they have on weekends, you can kayak for free for about maybe half an hour. It was really cool. I didn't know how much of a workout it was. I was like, oh my gosh, this is, oh, my shoulders and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But all this sounds cool. It does.
I wouldn't say that. It sounds cool.
No, it does. It really does sound cool. I just, if I would experience people and they're saying, hey, we're going to do this trip, and they know my skill level is not up there, and they're like, hey, no worries, you're good, then I feel more comfortable. You know, so either my friends have to plan it, I have to look online for something, but me just going out, no, not now. And like you said, maybe down the line, I'll get that confidence and I'll start doing research. I'll reach out to you and other people, and do it. But other than that, it's just going to stay.
I'm going to be your number one source. Okay. You're not going to reach out to anybody else. You're just going to reach out to me. Just me. You reach out to anybody else, I'm going to hunt them down. And I'm going to say, I'm sorry, but you can't receive a phone call from her and or any correspondence. You just have to come right to me.
But I do know a few people that camp and have set up camping trips. But again, I just haven't been available. So once
you know what, I think I want to set up my own like group. You know, just like get some people of color out in the woods, and anybody is welcome. You know, you don't have to be black just to go camping. But I think there aren't a lot of people that are black that go camping, and then a lot of times you don't see people that are black camping, and if you do, it's like, you know, it's rare. I think there are more people that, you know, everybody is interested in going outdoors. I think that the lack of experience, a lot of people are in a position where you are, they don't know. So because they don't know, they are afraid, and they may not have a resource or a person that they can depend on to give them an honest answer and or guidance to where they could kind of move into, like, how, like, the whole thing is also, where do I keep it? Right. Where do I keep my things? So I think it's interesting, and I love it when someone has no experience. And to give them, like, you know, because there are so many things that I did in the beginning that were wrong, and there was no one to tell me. You know, and I didn't know who to ask, because you started inviting, like, hey, would you like to go camping? And people sort of like, with a car? I'm like, well, the car is going to get you there, but we'll park it and then kind of go off. So I think you just have to get people into that mindset, like, what type of camping are we doing? And I've never done that. No, I don't go camping a lot. So.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's again, the misconception of the outdoors, not really for us. And I remember mentioning to a relative of mine about camping. I'm like, oh, would you go camping? Just asking. And they made a statement like, no, that's for white people. And I'm like, I just rolled my eyes. Didn't even say anything else. Like, okay,
Right.
that's, you know, how ignorant of a statement that is. But a lot of people think that way. A lot of people think like, no, I'm not going. Like, no, I'm not doing that. It's just like,
It's sad though, because they're missing out. They're just like,
yeah.
it's like anything in life. I don't look at something's for someone who's white or something's for someone who's black. I think we live on the same planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this planet wasn't given to just one race of people. We're all on this planet together. So I think the outdoors is for whoever is willing to take a chance. I would love to go on some adventures. Like summit a mountain,
Mm-hmm.
climb Mount Everest. Just like there are many things I would like to do. I just have to wait for my kid to get a little bit bigger so I have the freedom to do that. And my wife's like, "Oh, okay, I'll let you free. I'll give you a week." But I think you just have to want something and then go for it. But also find like people that you can get along with. And one thing about backpacking, like many things, you can have a frustration level because you'll realize how out of shape you are when you start walking up a hill over rocks with some gear on your back that's not 2 or 3 pounds. I'm talking, my bag's about 40 pounds sometimes, maybe 50. Depends on what type of tent I chose to take. This last trip, I had a buddy give me a beautiful 4-season tent. And this thing has the fly connected to the tent. So everything's like, it's a freestanding tent once you build it, but it is like a giant, beautiful thing. And it's a 2-person tent, but the tent's like inside this dome. And it was like just the coolest piece of gear I now own. It's by a company called Fjallraven. And the tent is the Keb Dome 2. So it is a really cool tent. Absolutely, like it's up there one of my favorites.
Okay.
My first tent I started off with is MSR Hubba Hubba 2. This is a 2-person tent. So that is my first tent. Unfortunately, that tent leaked on me on one trip. And I think it's just like wear and tear over time. But I figured out how to seal the seams, waterproof it, so this won't happen again. So when I'm ready to use that tent, I will take it out, put it up, water test it, spray my waterproofing agent on it. And if I need to seal the seams, I'll do that. But, I've been in some heavy, heavy rainstorm. Like that's the one thing. You're hiking. I used to hike at night. And we used to walk through the woods at night to the top of our destination. And we'd go like maybe 5 miles up, like straight up, You're walking up to top of the mountain for 5 miles at night. It's a little tricky, especially when you're relying on someone else to navigate you. Learn how to navigate. Don't rely on anybody because someone may make a mistake and you just, 2 eyes are better than one. That old saying, measure twice, cut once. I'd rather have another set of eyes navigating. And this way, when you're going where you have to go, getting lost can be a pain in the neck, and it can also waste time and ruin the trip, especially if someone's like, this is why I didn't want to come out here in the first place. But it's the adventure.
With the navigation, do you have paper maps? Do you have like a little GPS device as well as your phone? What do you use?
So I don't rely on my phone at all because there's no signal and I haven't downloaded a map. You can download, there's some companies that have systems. I think Onyx is one. There are outdoor companies that have, you can download a map and you can sort of like follow it. But I use a compass, a paper map, That's always like golden. And I have a GPS. And the sad thing is I have a really cool portable GPS from Garmin. I don't know how to use it. I haven't had time to play with it. And I've had it for a couple of years now. And I think it's the one piece of equipment I have that I feel really dumb. I'm like, I really don't know how to use this. So in this podcast world, if there's somebody out there who knows how to use any Garmin portable devices, please reach out to Tay or reach out to me, and I could use a little helping hand. I'm so busy with work and being a dad. I literally, like, for me, I might have from my last trip was in April. My bag, I usually don't get to unpack. So it's like a bag full of smelly camping things just sitting in my basement until my next trip, and I like rush to get everything together. I have like all this camping equipment that's like sort of like strewn out. I have to like organize it, and I'm really good at organizing. A lot of my things they're still brand new because I've put a lot of things back in the original packaging because I'm crazy. But my backpack is still slightly still unpacked for my last trip in April. So I have to get to that, unpack it, and, sort of like get ready for my next trip. I think is in October. I like the cooler months, and I'll tell you why. I don't have to deal with the bugs.
Right.
Harriman has a black fly season. So if you go camping in Harriman in the warmer days, you want to check and see what bugs are out. Sorry. It's not you. It's not okay. Anybody.
It's all right. I understand.
I'm just bored. No, I'm joking. I get up very early. What was I about to say? Navigation. So compass is true, but even that, I'm not 100% skilled in that. I could figure it out, but I think that's the one area that I would like to improve on is navigating. I would like to be a better navigator and, increase that skill set. I'd say other things are really I'm good at preparing food, like planning out my food, what types of food, even that. Like I've done a lot of like edible research because I use a lot of freeze dried food, but you can prepare your own meals and you can put things together and prepare it in the woods. I like the freeze dried stuff because I feel like with the other meals, it's okay. With the other meals, you have to kind of clean your pots, and I have such a short time in the woods. I don't want to have to do the extra work. I kind of just want to have fun collecting wood, creating a good fire. I move around a lot for work. So when I'm not working, I just kind of want to relax a little bit in the woods and really like take in the beauty of what this planet has to offer. Being a better swimmer and better navigator, the two things, that's my goal this year to improve on. And like I said, I'm more than willing to take lessons from anyone who is seasoned using any portable Garmin devices or navigation devices. You can take me under your wing and skill this dude. I'm ready for lessons.
Yeah. I was thinking about getting like a little navigation GPS device.
Do it.
But I'm like, do I need it? I do hike, but I'm not like doing these really extensive hikes. So it's like, ooh, it might be a little waste of money. And my phone, I have All Trails and
All Trails is another good one.
So I guess once I get to that level, then I'll upgrade and get a, GPS device. But
take your time,
what I did is I started YouTubing, and this one YouTuber, I think his name is the Hiking Guy. He does a lot of reviews of GPS devices. So after this is over, I will send you.
Look this dude up, the Hiking Guy. I'm always like out looking for people discussing things sort of the way I enjoy hearing it.
Yeah.
You know what really got me into like getting all this gear and getting back into the outdoor world? And this could be like a strange connection. This company, it's his pastor. His Pastor Dan, and he would do this like EDC. He had an EDC channel on YouTube, and EDC is everyday carry. And he would talk about all these like little things. He would have in this little bag, like knives, a first aid kit, in case like you're somewhere and you need like an emergency happens and you need to sort of like be prepared for it. And that led me down to this company called BattleBox. And I became a member of BattleBox. And they would send you, it's a subscription service. So you get gear once a month. I think like on the 15th, you would, they ship it out and you get it or it arrive about the 15th of the month and open it up and it would have all types of gear. And I had all this, I still have a ton of it. And I had all this gear. And I'm like, man, I'm not doing anything with this. I want to use it. And then I asked a few friends and we decided to go camping together. And they became my backpacking buddies. And then I started researching, like looking up other like campers or people that reviewed gear. And I started finding other like minds, and I like discovered new equipment. And with discovering something new, then you start discovering new purchases.
Yeah.
And all of these different add-ons. And it got to a point that I'm like, all right, I have a lot of knowledge about this stuff. I've done a lot of research, so and I'm I don't know everything. I'm still learning. I mean, I don't know, I never get that great. So someone might say, like, does he really know?
Right.
I know enough that I could survive. But it's a lot of fun. I have a good time. My short window out in the woods. And I like I said, I try to invite people twice a year, join me. And I had a new buddy come up with us on this last trip. And he had a lot of fun. I did warn him about the weather. I said, hey, man, it's going to be cool. So you might want to layer up and bring some things that are, not cotton if you have it. And he didn't believe me. And it was like a windy weekend. And it was cold, and I started a fire. And I wanted him to be comfortable, and I tried to give him some tips. And then when he started listening, then the tips I gave him, he actually used. And he's like, oh, thank you. I was able to have a good night's sleep based on what you told me to do. I said, oh, so you weren't listening the first night? He's like, no. It was the second night that I listened. I said, oh, okay. You're that dude.
So like, when it's cold, your tent, do you have a heater? Probably not, right? Like, you just layered up and just...
You layer up. You could do, there's like really cool techniques. Like they have like little tips that you can use to help you stay warm. Like some people recommend bringing an empty Nalgene bottle, boiling some water before you go to bed, fill up the Nalgene bottle, put it in the bottom part of the foot box of your sleeping bag, and that'll warm that up. Because the places you want to keep warm are top of your head, your feet, your hands. When I go camping, I have nighttime wear, so I like long johns. If I have a pair of long johns on during the day, I wear a different pair to bed. I change my socks. That's the one important thing. I bring extra socks. I change my socks, but I also have something. I wear little down booties in my sleeping bag because if it does get cold, or you could use hand warmers, foot warmer.
Yeah.
You could do like they have now. That whole warming community has like a chest warmer, a back warmer. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Someone's gonna say, "How's he going in?"
Right? Who's this guy?
Yawn because I have 3 kids and I wake up early. That's why I'm yawning. And nothing.
Hey, see, that's what leads me to like want to camp when it's warmer versus when it's cold because I don't like being cold.
But see, okay, so you get some nice layers. You have I say you should experience it, right? And
Okay, both. All right,
you
I'll do.
you want to like when I say it's cold, it's not always like okay. So the last time I went, it did snow 3 times.
Oh, what?
I thought it was beautiful.
It probably was.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful, and it rained a little bit. But like I said, it always rains when you go camping. You gotta have good rain gear. I have a whole I have gaiters, which if you don't know, gaiters cover your boots. It's like the bottom part, like calf down. It covers the top of your boot because when you have, I wear rain pants, a rain jacket, because when it's raining, I've learned my lesson that you might have a good rain jacket, but that water is just running off of you. Now it's running onto your pants and it's dripping down into your boots. You get a good pair of waterproof boots, but I mean, when water's coming down, if it's not tied right, sealed up, it's getting wet. I have a whole system, even for my backpack. I have, I keep all of my gear in a giant dry bag inside of my backpack because, God forbid, if it rains, you might have a rain cover for your bag, but stuff gets wet. Stuff happens, I'd rather be protected than not. So I have a little extra gear. Even the same thing for my sleeping bag. That is in a dry bag all the time. I keep that a dry bag is something that just keeps everything dry from getting wet. It's waterproof. So I keep my tent. I put that in a dry bag because I hook it up to the outside part of my backpack. My sleeping bag's in the bottom part of my backpack. That's in a dry bag. And then everything that's in the backpack, I have a bag liner, a dry bag. It's like a giant bag. You just shove it into your backpack and just stuff your gear in that. So I try to keep everything dry because, I mean, you never know. You can get stuck somewhere. You might have to be there a little longer than you need to. So I always have a little extra food, extra water. I don't carry too much of extra things. I plan it accordingly, but I have a little extra in case somebody's you might meet somebody on the trail who's
and they don't have something.
Who's yawning with me, and they may not have. One trip we went on, this young lady ran out of water. So I said, "Hey, I have extra water." I gave her some. She was very surprised, and she's like, "Oh, it's very kind of you." I said, "We're on the same planet. Got to help each other out when you can." So it made her trip a little easier, and she was all alone too. It was really cool. I was very impressed with the young lady camping on her own. So that was really nice.
Have you ever
But you meet a lot of people.
I was gonna say, have you ever encountered bears or other animals?
I have. There's one trip that I was in this lean-to, and I was I heard something just clumping around on the rocks. It was what is that? And my 2 buddies were unconscious, dead asleep. I don't want to be the dude who's not prepared. So I carry a little knife, and I had I kind of pulled it out. I didn't take it out of the sheath. I just laid it next to me. If I need to get to it quick, I could. And I just heard it getting closer. It's clump, 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 clump. And it just jumped out in front of the lean-to, and it turned around and looked at me, and it was this beautiful deer, and then right behind it was a buck. And he looked at me too, what are you doing here? And I'm like, hey, good morning. I'm not going to eat you. You're safe. Get out of here. And there was one day we were looking for water, me and some friends of ours. And I was trying to tell them how to properly filter their water with their system, because you have a little float that you can put on. One guy was put it to the bottom of the water and pull up the water. I'm like, no, you're getting all the dirt on the bottom into your filter. You're going to destroy your filter that way. But this person didn't want to listen. And there was a bear. It was maybe 200 yards. And I was like, oh, that's a black bear. just, if it comes this way, we'll just like yell. So I just start making some noises, just try to sound bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like scurried away. But, you got to be careful with bears. Brown bear, don't mess with that one. Polar bear, you're dead. If you're at a place where there's a polar bear, if you don't have something to get you out of there quickly, because it's only you and it. And he's like, why are you here? Like, I didn't order dinner yet, but I am going to get you. And, you got your grizzlies. Just gotta be careful with bears. I always say, if you're going to a place where there's bears, take bear spray. Just be careful. Take the proper equipment that seals your food so they can't get in it. You want to keep like the food attraction low to zero.
Okay. And this is something I want to do, right? Camp, right? I do want to camp. Yeah, okay.
You would be foolish not to. You live in New York City. There's probably worse bears in the city than there are in the woods. The bear's like, I don't know why this fool keeps staring at me. You pulled out this aerosol can, but I am just looking for the berries in this tree. She needs to stop following me.
Wow. Okay. Yes, a lot to think about when, starting out camping. Where is your next trip? You said most likely in October, right?
In October. So I really enjoy it. There's a spot in Harriman called Bald Rocks, and I like it a lot. But here's the tricky part. If it does rain, the rocks are really slick. So you have to be careful going down. And I've left on when it's been raining. I have a buddy who went with me, and I said, hey, just want to warn you, like, it's called Bald Rocks for a reason. You want to be careful walking down from this campsite. He didn't believe me. So we had a nice slick bald rock. It was like a slide. He starts walking on it, thinking his boots are really going to get a good gripping. He slid his ass right to the bottom.
Oh.
It was like he was on a giant slide. I said, dude, I warned you. But I also slid when I got close to the bottom too. So it was like pratfall Patty out here preaching to the choir. It's like, you're just coming right down here with me. But it's the nature of the wilderness. You will fall. You just have to be careful. You don't want to fall the wrong way. There's a right way and a wrong way to fall with a bag on your back. You don't want to fall face forward. You want to fall back. Let the bag absorb the brunt of the fall. But Harriman, Ball Rocks, that's where I go. There's another one, West Mountain. It's another good spot. I mainly camp around like the Harriman County because it's 90 minutes away from my home. So it's easy to get to, easy to get back home to if anything happens and I need to kind of bug out really quick. Other than that, I would love to go further. But, my little ones have to grow up a little bit, and I'm enjoying my time with them while they're little because when they get older, they're like, yeah, my dad's camping. I'm not with him. I'm in Europe somewhere.
Have you taken them camping, or is this something that you aspire to do with them when they get a little
My older
older?
one will not go camping because he's had bad times going to camp. So every time they were supposed to go for their outdoor outing, there was a big thunderstorm. So he never got to use all this great equipment I gave him. My middle guy, Pierce, he has gone camping with me once. It wasn't the greatest because a buddy of mine's, it was sort of glamping, rented a yurt. I thought he was renting 2. He rented 1. So Pierce and I slept on the floor, and it was really cold, like the heater, like nothing worked. So it was like a bad experience. So I'm going to take him camping again, maybe this year, later. for an overnight and let him really experience like the tent, backpacking. We'll go light, take our meals with us. And I really want him to have like fun. He had fun up until the night when we had to sleep. That was when it wasn't fun.
Right.
So, this company promised a bunch and
didn't deliver.
They didn't deliver at all. I think that's another, like, if you have an outdoor company and you're providing people with an outdoor experience and you promise heat and a bathroom, and go there, make sure everything is set up for these people, because that one time could be the last time, could
Right.
be you're introducing this world to someone and it could be the one time they're like, this was awful. So that's something I would maybe one day like to do, is like have my own like glamping setup where I can introduce people to the outdoor world. That would be a beginning, and then I would say, hey, I have backpacking trips too. If you're interested in that, this is where we go. But I think if you're doing it, do it right. Like, make sure make sure there's propane for the heater, make sure the bed is made. Be there, like, meet the people, greet them, say, hey, how are you doing? Really create some super concierge situation. Like, if you're going to do it right. Like, really go above and beyond. The difference between an A plus and an A minus, it could be small things, and it could be this person's like, I started here and now I'm summiting Everest. You never know where this might take someone, and I think if you introduce it right. So if anybody wants to go camping with me, I want to introduce it to you the right way. I want you to be able to either have a great time or an amazing time, but I want you walking away going, at no point did I feel uncomfortable, unsafe, unhappy. And it may be their thing that they like to continue doing, or it may not be their thing, but they can always say, my time with Silas was good. It wasn't crappy.
That's right.
That's guaranteed.
That's 15. All right, before we wrap up, we've been speaking about it all episode, but someone like me, or not even like me, because I enjoy the outdoors and I'm familiar with it. I just, the confidence of sleeping in a tent, but someone who's never really experienced the outdoors like that, has a curiosity about camping, but maybe doesn't think it's for them. What advice, where would you tell them to start looking, or like gear wise? Like, I know you spoke about the tent, but what other, or even a place where they can start? Like, if they live in New York City, would you recommend them going to Harriman? Is there another park or a place that's beginner friendly that you suggest?
There are a lot of places. So the place that I would recommend, and I don't work for this company at all, there's a couple of like camping gear companies in New York City. One is EMS, Eastern Mountain Sports. REI.
I've heard of them. Yeah, REI. Yeah.
EMS used to be on somewhere in the Village, I think on Broadway, like on a corner store. They could have moved. The pandemic sort of like shuffled everybody's finances around, made it a little tricky. REI is a really good spot. They have great people that work there, and they can sort of guide you to, what, like, depending on what level you are, speak to that level with you. At least I hope they can. I can't guarantee that, there are a lot of really cool cottage companies, and a cottage company is someone who's just making specific types of gear. They're not like an REI or an EMS or Paragon. They're not a big box chain store. They're small, and they're sort of like specific to certain things. I love cottage companies because I can get quality gear from a company this is what they're doing. Another good company that I love, and the company is called Dutchware. But I think I don't want to like drop too many names. But Dutchware, I love their gear, and I love their whole connection to the outdoors. And the guy's name is Dutch. which is funny. He's got a YouTube channel. You just look up Dutchwear. He's got all kinds of gear for, people that have been camping and new and experience. Oh, REI, I think is a good start.
Okay.
They have a membership you can join. It's free. You get a little bonus. Every little bit of change you spend, you get a percentage back in dividends, and that comes once a year. And you can use your dividends to purchase more gear. So there's an incentive. They have a 1-year return policy. So you have a year to figure out if you like the gear or not, and you can return it. They're pretty easy. They don't ask a lot of questions. Just be respectful if you are going to return something. I think just like don't go trashing it up and say, let me get something different. Just be respectful. It's still a business. But I say find if you don't have a friend who goes outdoors, you can reach out to me if that's possible. I don't know. But I encourage everybody, give it a try. Even just go for a day hike. There are a lot of like really cool spots. Get a backpack, something that has a water bladder for yourself so you can stay hydrated, and just kind of hike up a mountain and sort of maybe look. Bear Mountain has a lot of really cool areas to kind of walk around and just see what it feels like to walk. And I say walk with a backpack on, a small one, a day pack. So you kind of have a feeling of what it would be like to have something on your back walking up a hill. And this way it'll sort of like get into that groove. If you like that, maybe hike for a little longer during the day. And then if you're interested, you can always find some groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
Or find some friends that you like and you don't mind spending some private time, because if you're in the woods, there's some downtime where you don't always have to talk. You might just want to be sitting around. It's just someone you enjoy sitting around the fire with, that you don't have to feel obligated to keep a conversation going. Just relax. But there's so many cool things. So your backpack, your sleeping bag, your sleeping pad, your water, your food, your way to cook your food or reheat your food with, if you're using freeze-dried. Two of my favorite companies, Peak Refuel and Wild Zora, are two absolutely favorite hands-down food companies that I like. I don't get bloated from either one of them because a lot of the freeze-dried foods are high in sodium. It's just part of the process of their dehydration and freeze-drying. So, there's I could go on forever.
Yeah.
Tay. But I think when you're ready, I would be honored if you grace my ears with your questions.
I will. Now that I know, there's no
I'm
turning
gear
back.
obsessed.
There's no turning back.
There's no turning back. Once you start, you got to keep going forward.
That's right. I like that. Okay. Well, I hope you have a great upcoming camping trip in October.
Oh, aren't you going on that camping trip?
What?
Yeah.
What?
We'll see. I'll get you out of the woods.
We could just go for a hike, and then I can see. I'm a beginner, so I'm gonna do what you.
Get that backpack on with water bladder.
Right.
There's some cool day packs out there too.
Yeah.
I'll send you some links. And then you can test out your all trails.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm telling you, Bear Mountain, man. It's a legit climb.
Oh, I've been out there. Actually, took my mom out there. She was like, "This was the worst." Even on hikes together, she was like, "This one right here is the worst one." I'm like, "Really?"
Oh, man. Because it was steep, or
the one hike we went on, it was a lot of steps.
Oh yeah.
So she was like, "Yeah, that was it." So
the fact that they have stairs,
right,
is a treat.
Right.
There's a lot of places I've gone. Like, you got to climb over this boulder, hold on to this tree, squeeze through this little partition the rocks have made for you, and if your backpack is a little too heavy or too thick, you might take it off and push it through first. So I think your mom would. She's like, she got that treat of stairs.
My last question: have you ever thought about starting a YouTube or something? Just spreading more information about camping, the gear that you have, the gear, preparing for your upcoming trip, even recording bits and pieces of your camping trip, because I think that would be really interesting.
I have. And my middle son, we had a YouTube page for him. And I've been having trouble just getting back into filming him. So, and I have the camera. I have the equipment to do it. It's just I just have to do it.
Yeah.
So, yes, I've thought about it. I would like to do it. I think I'm an overthinker. And instead of just like acting, I think sometimes I dwell on it too long. And I feel like I might miss the opportunity. So, I would like to. There are a lot of people out there that do it. And I feel like they're all missing something. They're like speaking to a sponsor and not speaking to the people. You know, like if you want to sponsor me, that's great. But I'd rather someone know how to like. There's like small details, like little things that matter. Like when you're putting up a tent, some things you should know, like how to guide out. Which there are lines that you lock your tent to the ground in case there's a big windstorm or rainstorm. You know, it adds structure to that. So it's just little details to things like that. Are like, yes, you just bought this freeze dried food, but how much water do you actually use to go in? Like, like little details like that people don't always share. Say, I'm using this food. Like I mentioned Peak Refuel and Wild Zora, and I'll tell you why I use them. They don't require a lot of water. So I don't, and I bring my water in with me because I don't have a lot of time in the woods. I don't want to look for the water. Although I've got some great water filtration systems, I've only used one twice, and I gave it to a buddy because he didn't have any water. And I thought that was foolish to go camping when I said, bring your water, because I'm not sure if it has rained and there might be access to water. That's another thing. You always want to know where you're going and know what your water situation is. But yes, long story short, I would like to do a channel.
Okay, great. Well, I'm looking forward to it once you start your channel. And you got a subscriber here, so...
Well, thank you. Thank you. I will, if it's just one, I'll be honored to have you as my only one. But don't forget to like and subscribe.
Okay.
And hit that bell for notification.
Right.
I got that part, right?
You have it. Oh, man. Silas.
And the funny thing, people always ask you to do that in the beginning. I say stay to the end, because if you like the content, you stay. Then you should hit that like button, subscribe, and that bell for future notifications.
Okay, listen, you did that so well. When I do my outro, I need you to say that.
I'll say it for you. Yeah.
Thank you. I really do appreciate you being a guest, sharing your knowledge, and inspiring me and others to go camping. Go out in the woods and play.
Anytime you want. If thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank my wife for allowing me the time to kind of hang out with you. She's awesome. Just before we did this, I was washing up my little girl, doing her hair. She was in the tub playing, and my wife's like, "You have a podcast. You need to get out of that. You need to get ready." So I'd like to thank her, give her a big shout out for
thank her,
keeping me on point with my schedule.
Thank you.
She is awesome.
Yes, she's your producer.
She is. She would be an excellent producer. She's really good. She knows her stuff behind the scenes. So she's my future producer.
There you
But
go.
she's my boss. We work together,
Okay,
so
right. Yeah.
she's always my boss. My boss in the morning, my boss at night. So I can't get rid of her. She fired me once or twice, but she keeps coming back because she knows I'm awesome.
Oh man, thank you
Thank you, though.
again.
Thank you for having me. And anytime, if you
Course.
ever want to like follow up with the camping situation, I'd love to be back on.
I will. Well, and
We can
then you
talk
can
flashlights next time.
flashlights, and you can maybe demonstrate some of your gear or share,
I
show
love
some of your
that.
gear. All right, cool.
You know what you could do? You can come over and you could film here, and you pick the gear you want, and then I'll put it together and show you. How about that?
Okay, that's an episode idea. Got it.
Road trip. This is Tay on the road. I got Silas Brown here. He's got his Loki crown on.
Okay. Oh, Silas. All right. I'm gonna let you get out of here, but thank you again.
You're welcome.
And we'll do my outro.
You do it.
This is the Rolling with Tay podcast. I'm your host, Tasia, aka Tay. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Silas?
Hey, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. I know you want more of this content. Oh, and that bell for notifications in the future. Thank you.
That was great. All right. Peace.
Peace.